Hey guys, today's video is all about the best advice I can possibly give when it comes to caring for your ZZ plants. Now in this video, like I said, I'm going to be sharing 7 crucial care tips that you need to know when it comes to caring for these houseplants. Now, of course, you may be expecting some of these tips, but I've been sure to include more than a few that should come as a little bit of a surprise. So definitely stay tuned. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to leave them down below. Now, these 7 crucial care tips aren't in any particular order. I haven't listed these in order of importance. Basically, they are all super important when it comes to getting your ZZ plants to really thrive and flourish. So with me today, guys, I have 2 ZZ plants. This one here, which is in this vivid sort of emerald green color foliage. And I also have this guy here, which is commonly known as a Raven ZZ, and that's because it has this really dark forest green, even black almost foliage. The new foliage does come in a little bit brighter, but over time it does turn that really cool dark color. All right, guys, so I've recently repotted this giant ZZ plant of mine, and if you're interested in checking out that video when I break down exactly the soil composition and ratios of the different soil mixes that I've used, or soil ingredients that I've used in my ZZ mix, then be sure to check out this video right here. And with that, let's jump into the 7 things that you ought to know when it comes to caring for your ZZ plant. All right, guys, now I've had my ZZ for quite some time, especially this one up here, the bigger one. This one is actually as tall as about 3 feet, almost 3 feet tall, and it's just absolutely amazing. Now, I would generally describe ZZ plants as pretty easy to care for houseplants. That being said, making some minor changes or some little tweaks here and there in terms of how you care for them is really what's going to make all the difference in terms of getting all of that beautiful new growth and having a plant that really is going to thrive and flourish. And the first tip that I want to share with you guys is about lighting. Now, when it comes to lighting and my ZZ plants, even the Raven, as well as this guy up here, I really do think by allowing them to have about an hour or 2 in the morning of more really bright indirect light, but more kind of what I would describe as some direct sunlight, really makes all the difference in my experience with allowing these guys to really grow and, you know, have a really healthy sort of lighting situation. So yeah, giving them an hour or 2 of that really good morning light, it can make all the difference. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm Tyler, and if you like what you're seeing or you find this video to be useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, or better yet, you can hit that subscribe button. Now, to really show me some love, click on the bell for alerts and notifications for future content. And oh yeah, don't forget to check out my merch store, tylermossop.com. All right, so my next tip is related to watering your ZZ plants, and the advice that I want to share with you guys when it comes to watering the ZZ plant is really resist the urge to water these plants weekly or even every other week. I would really recommend kind of resisting that kind of frequent watering. In my experience, what I found is holding off on watering your ZZ plant and watering them, you know, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks in the growing season, at the most frequent, and then in the non-growing season or in the winter months, maybe just like once a month. Really think about how much water you're giving your ZZ plant. I've found that kind of being on the sort of you know, a little bit more safer than sorry when it comes to watering has worked out better than overwatering. You definitely don't want to overwater your ZZ, and that kind of trickles into my next tip, which is the soil mix that you're using. Now, I highly recommend using an aeroid soil mix for your ZZ plants. If you click on that link that I referred to earlier in the video, when I repotted this ZZ, you can see exactly what type of things and ingredients I'm using in my soil mix. But basically, at the end of the day, you want to use an aeroid mix for your ZZ. What that is going to do is two things mainly. The first is provide great drainage for your ZZ plant. That's related to watering. That water isn't going to be sitting there. It's going to flow through the root system and just trickle out because you should have drainage. And that means that there isn't going to be any risk of root rot or anything like that because the water is just draining right through. Now, the second thing that an aeroid mix is going to do is provide a lot of great aeration for the root system. Now, that's when you can think of it just kind of like the air in your living room or wherever you have your ZZ plant can kind of get to and access the root system. So by including a chunky or coarse bark, like pine bark in your aeroid mix, that just helps the breathability of the root system. And those two things combined can make all the difference in terms of having new growth on your ZZ when the growing season rolls around, and just allowing your plant to be very happy and the roots really kind of thriving. So super important to have that type of soil mix for your ZZ plants. I use that both for my Raven and this one, and I've noticed again such a huge difference. I can't emphasize how important it is to have that type of soil mix for these plants. Right, so the next thing I want to share with you guys is fertilization and fertilizer. Now, even though these plants don't flower or they're not cherished for their flowers, it's really all about the beautiful foliage. Despite that, it's still super important to make sure that you are fertilizing these plants, especially or particularly during the summer months or the growing season. Now, what I like to use is a well-balanced liquid diluted fertilizer regularly. I would say probably monthly in terms of cadence. And this is really going to allow your plant to absorb the nutrients it needs to put out that new growth and really, you know, get to something this size where you have certain pieces that are, you know, up to 3 feet tall. Now, admittedly, this next tip is something I don't do frequently enough. If you're busy, I think this is kind of the first thing, especially for me, that kind of falls off the bandwagon in terms of caring for my ZZ plant, but nonetheless, this is still pretty important. So what I would recommend is using a damp cloth or damp paper towel, and just use that to kind of gently wipe down the foliage. This is important for a couple of reasons. First, you're just getting rid of all of the dust and dirt that can accumulate on the plant, but what that ends up doing is allowing the plant to absorb more light, which is obviously super important and critical to its survival. So yeah, I mean, even before filming this video, I kind of was, you know, spritzing some paper towel and then wiping some of the foliage down because, you know, it gets dusty, and we should be doing this a lot more frequently than we do. But once you do, remember it's important to do it because it helps a ton. All right, guys, this is my ZZ Raven, but I want to speak to you guys about humidity. Now, both of my ZZs live close to humidifiers, and keeping the humidity level above 50% humidity, I think has played a really critical role in terms of just having really healthy, vibrant ZZ plants. So that is another great tip. All right, guys, so finally, last, definitely not least, I think this comes across a little bit silly, but I think it's really important to make sure you're not afraid to move your houseplants around your home so that they can get these conditions that we've talked about. Even something as simple as turning the pot around, you know, a couple of degrees every couple of weeks, just so that all of the different foliage is getting light and you're just kind of balancing it all out, it's gonna grow a lot more full, and it's just going to really help the plant. So as silly as that sounds, I really recommend that you don't hesitate to move your plants around and just rotate them in their pots in their current place as well. It's a great tip and something we should all be doing. Well, that's it for me. Miss you guys already. Until the next one.